The wheel of fortune goes spinning around.
Wheel of Fortune. Every time I hear the introduction to that game show, I am transported to the year 1991. At that time, I had just gone through a divorce, had no money, and was driving a 1979 Toyota Celica with hail damage. At the age of 35, this is not where I thought my life would be. And all I wanted to do was dig a hole, climb into it, and stay there. But one day, I got a call from my Aunt Ruthie, who was in her 70s and a little feisty. Cheryl Ann, listen up. I have got some exciting news. What? Oh, your Aunt Margie says hello. Aunt Margie lived right next door to my Aunt Ruthie, so every time you went to visit, you got a great deal, 2 aunts for 1. Ruthie continues, the other day we were watching our favorite show, Wheel of Fortune, and we saw where they were having tryouts right here in Dallas, down at the fair park, the state fair, in a couple of weeks. I said, well, that's great. Are you and Aunt Margie going? Oh, no, hon, but guess who is? You? We signed you up. My Aunt Ruthie could go off on tangents at times, and this was one of them. I tell you what, though, we had the hardest time getting through to those wheel people. That line was busy forever, but I have got what they call a redial button on my new phone. And it is the greatest thing. I tell you what, you push that button one time and it dials the whole number that you just dialed. And it is great, unless you forget who you just dialed, and then it dials somebody that you don't necessarily want to talk to. I did that the other, Aunt Ruthie, could we get back to Wheel of Fortune? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, we finally got through and gave them your name, and you're going to go on Friday the 5th at 10 a.m. Now go get a pen and paper so you can write this down. Aren't you excited? No, I wasn't excited, because this would mean crawling out of my hole, and I didn't want to do that. On the other hand, these were my aunts who were closer to me than my own mother. But still, I was just not in a good place. So when I told my aunt that I thought I would pass on the tryouts, she got very quiet. Cheryl Ann, you know that we would go if we could, but with my one kidney and your Aunt Margie's bad heart, we couldn't even make it to the boots of Big Tex. 2 weeks later, I was trying out for Wheel of Fortune. Okay, first they give you a piece of paper with 10 partially solved puzzles on it. And you have to, if you're going to make the first cut, you have to solve 8 out of the 10 in 5 minutes. I solved all 10. So, you know, in spite of myself, I'm getting a little excited about all this. Okay, and then next, they conducted this short interview to make sure that none of us were psychotic or anything. And since I was slightly psychotic at that time, I just put forth my best version of normal, and they bought it. And I was chosen as a contestant. I told my Aunt Ruthie that I made it on the show, and she said, oh, thank God for that redial button. A couple of months later, I flew to Los Angeles. Now, they tape 5 shows in one day, and I was picked for the very last show, which meant that I had to sit around for about 6 hours before it was my turn. And at first, I thought, well, that's good. I can relax, I can practice my puzzle solving. But as I sat in the audience watching all of the other contestants and all of the other games, I couldn't solve one puzzle. Not one. And as time got near to me going up, all I could think of was that my big early 90s hairdo had drooped, and underneath it, my brain had completely shut down. And that's when I heard, Cheryl Norris, you're next. Okay, we went through the first 2 games quickly. I didn't win anything. Then it was my turn to start the last game, and I leaned over that padded railing and I grabbed that wheel and I spun. And I thought, you know what, damn it, this is gonna be my game. And sure enough, immediately I started racking up money. I got $400, I got $1,500, I got $800, I got some cute sporty clothes, I got a fun-filled vacation, I got a free spin, and I bought vowels. And with the exception of the time that I used that free spin, every letter I guessed was up on that board. Vanna had been very busy. The category for my game was before and after. Before and after is a familiar phrase whose last word is the first word of another familiar phrase. So, for example, home sweet home loan. You get it, right? Okay, all right. My puzzle had 5 words in it, and I had solved every one of them with the exception of the first word. The first word had 4 letters in it, and I was missing the first and last letter, but in the middle were 2 O's. So if you can envision that big board, this is what I had. First word, blank, O, blank. The next 4 words, at the top banana. Something at the top banana. Any guesses? Okay, yes. But unlike Miss Smarty Pants in the audience here, I could not figure out the puzzle. And I really tried. And when Bob Goen, who was the host for the daytime show, not Pat Sajak, although Vanna worked both the day and nighttime shows, and that didn't seem fair to me. But anyway, when Bob finally said to me, Cheryl, we need an answer, I said, is there a G? Yeah, the audience did what you just did. As if to say, you're such an idiot. I lost my turn, someone else won, and the game was over. So I slinked back home to Dallas, not wanting to talk to anybody about my wheel of misfortune. Of course, my aunts wanted to know how it went, but I couldn't bear to disappoint them. They had hung their hopes on my winning big bucks. So I thought it best to say nothing and just let them watch the show. Sure enough, about a month later, right after it aired, my phone rang. A G? You chose a G? The puzzle was room at the top banana. Why the hell would you choose a G? What did you think the puzzle was? Goop at the top banana? I said, Aunt Ruthie, goop at the top banana doesn't even make sense. She said, I know, neither did choosing a G. But then I told her that if she would stop being mean to me, that I would give her and Aunt Margie the 1-year supply of Doan's pills for lower back pain that I got as a consolation prize from the show. I'm not kidding. And she was thrilled. But before she hung up, she said, well, at least it got you out of that apartment. And I realized that while I thought I was doing this for my aunts were actually doing it for me. And it was after my game show disaster that I finally figured out something that I have to remind myself of now and then. You just have to go with the flow in this thing called life And yes, sometimes it's rocky and difficult to get through, but other times you just glide along with ease and joy. But either way, you've got to keep going. There is no benefit in stopping to dig that hole. My aunts have passed away now, but I think about them a lot, and I miss them. And when I make a mistake or I think I've embarrassed myself, I can hear this feisty little voice in my head saying, Cheryl Ann, don't worry about that. That is not important. Shoot, that ain't nothing but a big old bunch of goop at the top banana.